Hello everybody, Eon here. We're looking at February 2025 SciFi Overview number 1. It's Sunday, February 9th as I record this, just for the sake of if anybody looks at this and be like, why didn't you include that? We're going to start alphabetically Across the Realms. Across the Realms is doing Champions of Excess this month, and right now all we have is this illustration. We'll probably come back and look at this later this month. Admiral Apocalypse is new to my videos. Admiral Apocalypse does mostly bases, it appears, and these typically have a more sci-fi slant to them. So we have these ancient iced ruins here, as well as these guys here. For their roadmap, we can see that they're going to be doing some trench warfare stuff, along with sewers and town battlefields, and you can tell it's kind of a more sci-fi gist, and not just the planets used as the graphic. Anvil Digital Forge this month is doing the BSF, I think that's British Space Force if I remember correctly, Stormtroopers. These are modular with several different heads and bodies. They come with backpacks or without, and several different weapon options. British Space Force Stormtroopers. And for a loyalty reward, we have the Automata and Scrapper. Arcane Whiskers has put out their release this month. So Dig Site Pack, we have some Galactic Excavations. So some cloth-covered crates, some hard drive incinerators or subdemons. This is a data chomper. For the Dig Site Pack, we have the Charbidus Mega Drill. Comes in a couple of different forms, and it is modular for however you wish to do it. Filled tent, as well as explosives crate. And of all things to print, a covered dirt mound. I mean, hey, it fits the theme. Archvillain Games does both fantasy and sci-fi. Let's look at their sci-fi release. Here we have the Orbita Hellscape Oblivion Court. Here we see the Black Archon. This is the Panic Engine. Comes in two different versions. This is the Host of Paranoia. This is a Nachtmar. Quite a nightmare, right? Their sci-fi releases tend to be several sculpts. Usually fantasy they limit to about 4, but for sci-fi they'll often go to 11. This is a Phobian. So just helmet down or helmet up. And again, this goes up to 11. Atlan Forge will put out through the month, but this right here is the only preview we have at the moment for February 5th. So they're coming out with a vehicle. Very nice looking vehicle. Bad Tusk Games gave us this preview art of this guy Mechano, and now we can see a render of him. So this little gobbo is ready to help fix up your stuff. Battlecat Miniatures does historicals, so they do a release that is more old ancient warfare. This is the Roman Republic, Equites, Waylights, and a command group. but we're going to focus a little bit more on overall their Horse and Musket historical release. So we have some Russian Horse Artillery and Russian Leib Guard Horse Artillery and Guard Cossacks, which we can see in a little bit more detail here. I am not a historian, sorry. For World War II, we have the US LVT-2, the USMC Marine Corps HQ, and a US Army Pacific HQ. Beyond Space has started showing us some of the releases for February. Release number 1 is the Night Lord Gauss. Release number 2 is the Arashi Bannerman. And then we've gotten a preview. This is Knight General Harkin. He either comes without his helmet or with his helmet. Claudio Casini Art is mostly fantasy, but there are a couple of miniatures here that I felt like needed to be in the SciFi video. This is the post-apocalyptic SciFi Warrior and the Forged Ranger. Again, probably more steampunk than sci-fi, but you know, we're fine. Comet Lord Miniatures has usually about 3 releases per month. They sometimes come in multiple sculpts, as the one we're about to look at. But we're going to look at Eve. She is a Forge-born, as well as the Executioner version of her. So she may be a little more on the fantasy side, depending on where you follow things here. But here we have Eve. To me, she reminds me of Alita Battle Angel, and that's why I'm putting her in this video. She also comes in this form as well. Doesn't look like the same person, does it? Crippled God Foundry, I'm putting in here for the sake of completion. Apparently, on February, they're just putting the SciFi releases in hiatus. They are not getting as many people to join the SciFi as they would like, and they do intend on the SciFi bundle being back, probably a more direct, says a more correct route, probably a direct route, and maybe a separate subscription, which I think would be a good model. You know, don't put too many eggs in one basket, and that just makes more sense. They are putting out a new tier in the fantasy as well called Low Level Encounter, which is a new tribe actually. But for right now, the SciFi for Crippled God Foundry is going to go to the side, and I look forward, Crippled God, to seeing the return of the SciFi. Custom Miniature Maker does more fantasy stuff, but with these pipes, I wanted to put them into the SciFi release as well. So these are modular pipes that can be put together in a lot of different ways. You print off what you need, where you need it, and what I thought was probably the most amusing of all of this, and I mean that in a nice way, is it looks like this thing comes with working screws and bolts to put these models together at whatever height you want them to be. Not exactly sure how these work, but they look like they're friction fit like they should. So I think that's just very neat. Skullforge Studios is putting out their Wargames release, their RPG release, as well as some terrain. So we have for February the Wheatus Imperium. Here we see Brother Gladius. We have the Ekdurus Custodes. These come with a couple of different weapon options. We have the Volatilis Custodes. Obviously these have jetpacks. Again, a couple of different weapon options. For the RPG or skirmish, you know, Cyber Stories style version, we have Clash. And this is the Giordano twins, and let's look at them in a little bit more detail. Here we have Enzo on the left, very unique weapons, and Antonio on the right. So they both have hand weapons, but a little bit different than what you would think of as a typical hand weapon. We have also the Giordano's Guard. So these guys don't come just with each other, they come with a whole slew of people. And then I suppose these are our heroes, our versions against this. We have Claudio Ortega and Valentina Ibarra. Appropriate name for the month of February. We have a couple of civilians as well as some terrain. They also have put out their Grid Runner terrain, which seems to be more like, you know, downtown sort of place, as well as some bases. Cyberstash will sadly be leaving us pretty soon, but until then, let's continue to look and see what they have to do. Again, March will be their last month. For February, we're getting Dahlia Dollyhood. Again, DM Stash and Nerikson, they put a lot of detail into these models. You also get these 3 minions as well as Dolly's gun as a prop. Dakka Dakka is put out, this is everything you'll be getting for the month of February. I won't read it all to you, but we have a Mind Absorber of the Great Harvest. This is their February gift for all members. We have the Ignosaurus Clan Team Ignitium, flamethrowers, what we're looking at here. So here's some of the early preview art that they put out. Here's the Circumsolar Infantry Squad. We have the Regius Guard Stomper mech. They just put out new renders of this morning as I was preparing to put this. So here we go. This is the Regius Guard Stomper. And this, of course, is a modular set. It does not print as one piece. So you would print it off in all those different pieces and put it together with various weapon options for whatever you want. Here we have Murder Incorporated. You get 5 miniatures. These are Rockhead gangs. And a loyalty reward from Dakka Dakka is Phoebe the Unholy Well. Also, to give them a shout out, on February 25th, they'll be launching a Kickstarter for Forgeborn vs. Blessed Ones. And apparently it's already gotten the Projects We Love moniker. Den of Imagination is doing a release that's got a little bit of fantasy, but more sci-fi. Here we have Caligula, the Avatar of Vice, Champion of Luxor. Comes in a couple of versions, as well as these Decimators of Excess. So there's the Decimators and a little bit more view. And on the right, we have a Sorcerer, which I put in the fantasy video as well, but that is more of a fantasy type release. Duncan Shadow has this golem that we're looking at here. Again, with the guns, I put it over here. Modular, put it together however you wish. Edge Miniatures is doing Tech Elves and Cursed Elves on the 8mm side. And on the 28mm side, we have Skyborn Scavengers, which are these bird folk, and Tech Pirates. So lots of different models with the Skyborn Scavengers, along with a few animal companions as well, it would appear. They also, in an earlier video, put out that they were or an early release, excuse me, not video, they put out they were doing a Kill Team carry case. So I just wanted to emphasize that again, and hopefully that hasn't changed. I didn't see it in their more recent releases. For the Tech Pirates, you can see these models here, again with multiple weapon options. For the 8mm range, we have the Tech Elves. This is a Void Knight. Again, comes with a couple of lower limb options. And for the Cursed Elves, we have these jet bikes. They have even printed off this month's release so that you can see how everything compares on the table. Now, this one is new to my video, Forbidden Prince, excuse me. I was looking at the tiers of this. Now, obviously, these numbers are going to be a little bit different when you go to look at it, but they still have some early bird options if you're really interested in joining this tribe, as I prepare this video. So Forbidden Prince is doing District 12 Reboot, and basically we have some open lot compatible vehicles. Again, I don't think the Space Marines are actually part of their release. I think they're just there for scale. So these can come as a damaged, ruined version of these, or they can come as an intact, usable version of these various trucks. So where does the open lot come into play? Well, look at that. You can choose the wheels, you can choose the tops, and you can change out the cab, you can change out the back of the truck as needed. Again, these come in a ruined version or in a usable version as well. And just to kind of give you a preview without showing every single picture they've put out, there's lots of options. Also, we have the Ethereal Dominion release as well. Slightly different faction. Ghamak has not put out their full SciFi preview yet, but we do see the Swarm Brain has been released. I feel like it might be afraid. Maybe not. As well as the Heretic Knights. We'll come back and look more later in the month. Kyoushuneko Miniatures. This is just kind of a preview of what they intend for this month. So the Soviet Werebear, as well as Finnish Winter Infantry, as well as a War Journalist. Interesting. Very unique model there. But this is what they've released so far. This is the first batch. We have some Finnish Winter Infantry. Commandant officer there, some riflemen in various poses. And like I said, we'll come back later this month. The Maker's Cult has put out their first release. A lot of SciFi releases do in multiple batches, which is not a bad thing, not complaining at all. Here we have the Universal Guard Walkers. They look very nice. Again, just showing off how nice that miniature looks and to scale. Here we have some more guys. I'm not sure which these are. I think these are Dark Crusaders. These are probably the Armored Champions. Or those might be. Mantic Vault for the month of February is mostly a fantasy release, but they've got a couple of sci-fi things for us here. So we have the GCPS Faction Pack accessories. This is intended for Firefight, which could be used for Dead Zone or anything else either. And then we have some Faction Pack heads for the GCPS as well. Firefight, Dead Zone, any of that. Marchen Atelier, and I know I'm mispronouncing that, has done their Grimdark Cuteness for the month of February. And they have this Grub and Get, which apparently is something they release little bits here and there. And I'm not sure what exactly to do here, but if you want parts of it, they said to send them a message, but I think that's for their patrons. So, but yeah, so this is apparently several different pieces that go together to make one big entity. Moid, I'm often confused about, and I hate admitting that, but I just want to clarify that in case I'm telling you wrong here. I believe this is for February. They seem to have been releasing this kind of along, but it says, "Hey everyone, the Race 602 is ready and fully tested for printing. Tomorrow, full access the models," which would be, that was put out on January 31st. So this is either the end of the month release of January or early February. But it says that their Moid is now being focused on the March release. So I think this is February. Mr. Modulork has a free tier. So there's this little gobbo that you can get. He does not look too happy. For release number 1 of 5, we have the Kill Wagon. Comes with banners and different fronts or backs. So slightly different options on each one. And then for release number 2, we have the Wukork. Nerikson has a small sci-fi release, Neo Nixie, the big bad robot. As well as this bust, which is from their Four Horsemen series for War. And I feel like this is more not sci-fi, but it could be. You could definitely include this in War. In sci-fi, excuse me. One Page Rules has updated their welcome pack, so we see a little bit different miniatures than normal. This is the Eternal Dynasty, I believe. We have here a StarQuest figure. This is a Robot Legion's Pathfinder. There will also be another Human Defense Force figure for fantasy for their StarQuest as well. I don't know that we have a render for that just yet. And this is the Alliance fleet, 4 ships for their war fleets. These are bikers. I believe these are the leaders. And again, these often come in male versions, female versions, helmeted versions, unhelmeted versions, and that's why you see so many. These are stormtroopers, I do believe. Various weapon options. Again, helmeted, not helmeted, male, female. Here we have our command groups for the stormtroopers, or storm leaders, if you would. And here we have some of our more generic bikers. Again, these come with various weapon options. Helmets, no helmets. We also have some light walkers. These come in seven different variants. And then finally, of course, we have some bases, game aids as well. Also, don't forget on GameFound, One Page Rules is launching a actual physical set of models, Saurian Star Host versus Robot Legions, I believe, that you can check out there if you have any interest in just buying the miniatures already pre-made for you instead of buying the models to print yourself. Papsikels has put out a couple of new things since the preview, but not too much, I don't believe. February 2025 release is Aliens versus Humans Predaliens. So we're starting to mix these together. So here we have a Xeno Predalien Queen. The Democracy Troopers have a modular headset. Here we have their Hell Dutifuls. We also have a Colonial Marine Specialist. The Bachichang Sentry. I'm a sucker for those types of things. A Super Sample Rock. And then we have these Predaliens. Again, it's an alien, but it's a head of a predator on it. Here we have the Voteless Squid Mine Zombies. And again, I just found that look like they're almost posing and dancing to me, and these come in multiple varieties, sculpts. They have also put out the Tormentor Herald of Beelzebub and a Quipo's Shrine Anchorite. And then continuing kind of the trench, and so here's the Cyberpunk release, and this is the only image I have at the moment for if you want or have any interest in Cyberpunk miniatures, and you can see kind of what you get there. Some are obviously inspired by some movies or franchises and things like that. And then continuing the Trench Crusade, they have put out the Malignant Lord of Tumors, with a couple of accessory models, we'll say. Piper Makes has put out a few previews. The renders from Piper Makes are always so crisp. So many options. Print Minis has put out their release for February. We have some Danica Reapers, Trilogator, and a War Tractor. So the Danica Reapers are a gang expansion, Corpse Harvester Cult. And just to show a little bit more detail of a few of those models. We have the Iron Ox, the War Tractor. There's a vehicle for whichever game you wish to play. It comes in a couple of versions. And then we have a Trilogator, a flesh-forged pet. It comes in a couple of versions as well. It's a 3-headed alligator. Don't think I've ever seen that model even hinted at anywhere else. Printerra Studios is doing a Althea Dread Mechanical Coffin and Termafea Armored Knights. Althea Military Squad. And we have some bases as well. And then we have Armafea Dazes, which is, I'm not sure how to say the D-A-Z-S, but I do believe that's a kitty cat under there. Look, okay, Nekuro Dazes. Nekakuri on the left. And some other bases as well. These are data ruins. We have some buggy glitch terrain and a Scorpion Lord. Althea Yaksha and a Crypt Kabinakuri. Project Mobius is doing a few things in February. So we have this vehicle garage. We have a plasma turret, as well as some containers. And last but not least, a large pillar. Some good scatter terrain for your environments. PS Miniatures is doing the Space Elf Soaring Falcons. Puppetswar doesn't like to put their renders out too early, but in February we'll be getting a Pitbull heavy track tank for strikers and an Emperor Orcs Royal Guard for orcs. So now you know. Red Makers and Adeptus Miniatures, for their first release of February, has put out these 3 sets of models. Let's take a little bit closer look. Here we have a squad, Twisted Horde, Renegades, and Heretics. We have Kill Squad Orcs, 8 units of those. Again, these are modular, but they're usually intended to fit together one particular way. And then we have the Blade Reaper's Omniforge. And these models remind me of some guys in a movie, Return to Oz, with the fact that they have, you know, wheels for feet. Very unique models. I'm really impressed with these guys. These are unique. I've not seen anything quite like these. Now, Rescale Miniatures this month, they are almost always fantasy, but their Molten Hearts dwarves come in a very steampunk style thing. In fact, that's what they actually call them, is dwarven steampunks. And when you look at these, I'm like, let me put these in the SciFi video. So if you have any interest in these guys, it may be worth making note of. We have some that are flying, we have some that are on the ground, various weapon options. Just worth noting. RNE Studio, I like to usually mention because some of their stuff borders between the two realms. We have Blizzard Volume 4, Western RPG Volume 10, Classic JRPG Volume 37, and they did put this out as the Champions tier would be Sin City. I hope I'm not mixing up the months on where this would be, and if I am, please correct me, but I'm pretty sure this is supposed to be for February, because they're also doing some stuff with Jurassic Park, which I should probably have included here too. RPG Figures does one fantasy, one sci-fi miniature in their tribe per month, and for the month of February, the sci-fi release is a KX security droid. Sir Nicholas Miniatures is doing the Great Holy War, and this is the Barons of Hell kit. Now, these come with several different options, but when you put these together, you can put these together in a typical fantasy, no technology manner, or you can equip them with a gun. And again, that's kind of my break point for fantasy versus sci-fi. So just a few options of the ways you can put these guys together. In addition to these miniatures, they also have added a new welcome gift, the Lord of No Man's Land. This is slightly modular and would really fit, I think, with the new hotness of Trench Crusade. Dangerous terrain come with base plates or with not, sir, so you can put those together however you wish. Skullforge Studios is put out some of their first previews here. We have Tactical Mandos and the Dynamic Docent. It belongs in a museum. Actually, they're all the same miniature, aren't they? Just different poses. And then we have the Sage. Different, same, different poses. Station Forge has put out their first previews. We have the Grimdark Frostwatch. Complete with skis, ice picks, and snow shovels. They're ready for the winter storms that are supposed to be hitting the areas this week, from what I hear. And then we have the Grimdark Officer. Comes complete with a painting guide. Notice there's two versions. Most of the difference between the versions is the shoulder pads being a little bit smaller on one and the emblem on the hat. I think there's other slight details. The hat obviously can have one band or two bands, but that's the big difference between those that I noticed looking at them. Table Hammer has put out Pete the Chad. Pete the Chad comes in three poses. He's, rocking out. He's got his hand across his leg, or he's got his hand pulled back. And he does come with the bases as well as a few weapon options and accessories. Traders Galaxy Miniatures and Games is doing a little teaser for February. So Trasher Armory. and the Ninja Tea Party is for their 28mm range. Trident Studio has put out a very small preview of what's coming. We'll look at these more when they release better images that I can look at. But all we see right now is this banner image of what's coming for the month of Trident Studios. Txarli Factory has put out these ruined buildings for our SciFi release. Usually about 4 inches up to about 6 inches. Different ones are different sizes. Some are 4x6, some 5x6, etc. Unit 9 never ceases to impress. So for Unit 9 we have this release this month. Steel Core Workers. So we have Randy Bones Carter, a couple of different poses here for Randy. We have a Spartan cargo drone. These actually come in 3 different models. We have Frank Buck Jennings, a couple of different poses or weapon loadouts if you wish. We have Earl Rusty Chambers. Tammy Tex Rogers. Again, 2 different poses. We have a Leviathan 3000, which is a construct. I think these are just different angles. We have Hank Duke Watson, 2 different poses. In addition, with Unit 9, you get some battle mats that you can print off at different scale. And then just to show everything together once more, all the different models that you get for the month of February with Unit 9. Velrock has, for the month of February, the Industrialists Infantry. Just to show a few of their models. Vermillion Miniatures said that it was important to represent several different professions, and so we have these models coming out from them. Not sure what that type of syringe that is in his left hand. New to my videos is VS3D or Versus 3D. They seem to specialize in very high quality models, busts, that sort of thing. I believe these are mostly renders, but these might, I don't believe these are actually painted. Maybe they are. But for Red Dead Redemption 2, Sadie Adler, her heart broken when her husband was killed, we decided she would fit nice in February as a Bloody Valentine. And this model will apparently, most of these will release more towards the end of the month. You see she comes also without a hat or with a hat. And apparently this is the lineup they intend for the month of February. Wargames Atlantic has the Renaissance models here. These guys come with hand cannons. I forget what they're called. We have the British Naval Brigade Artillery, Imperial Conquests. We have for Deathfields the Swiss Guard. Apparently these guys were plucked from the 16th century and brought into the world of Deathfields. The Great War, we have the Austro-Hungarian Infantry. They put out this vehicle in the previous previews. Apparently this is their first modern vehicle release, and this is a Fiat Ter 15 ambulance, and it comes with Ernest Hemingway and Agnes, where Hemingway can actually help drive the ambulance. Being British, of course, his driver's side is on the right side of the vehicle and not the left, like we do here in the States. Hemingway comes with several different head options. Agnes seems to come with just one, but Agnes does come with one set of outfits because she apparently It's not allowed to sit down. I don't mean that in a bad way. But World Ablaze, Dutch Schwarzlaw's MO8 MM&G. Wargame Exclusive is the Greater Good Ashigaru Battlefires. Let's look at those in a little bit more detail. And then we have the Renegades of Pain, Grants, Spades, Aces. 3 different models here that go together. Now, I don't often put White Werewolf Tavern in here, but their release this month is the Gilded Wrath. And it's that weird automaton, clockwork. We have robots here, so that's why I'm including it. So we have Myra Forgeheart. She comes in 4 different versions. She also comes with a bust. We have a Guardian of the Golden Flame, also in bust form. We have the Dread Artisan, who also comes in a bust form. And by the way, if the image seems a little blurry, it's because that's how the original image was. Vault Spawn. And then we have the Sons of the Shining Forge set. I don't imagine they broker much business, because once they're done, they have spoken. They remind me of a character from the first season of Mandalorian, that's why I say that. Golden Loom Crawlers set. Iron Tusk Enforcers set. Again, these are all swords and shields and axes, so definitely more of a fantasy vibe. But then we have Scrapbots. Witchsong Miniatures also has that gray area with the gear-worn serpent, so I'm including it here for any of you that are interested in that. We also have the Avatar of Despair. These will be released around the middle of the month. And that brings us to the end of the SciFi video. Thanks for watching. We'll be coming back in a week or two to see what is updated in the month of February, and I hope to see you there soon. Take care. Bye.